Hey y'all, welcome back. Thought I'd make another video on my adventure with disability. This time I thought I would write down a bunch of the facts and figures and basically have a crash course for you on the disability process. So to start out, the reason I'm considered disabled, I told you what my injury was in the last video, but my actual issue is I can't sit very long. I have a sitting disability. So sitting upright is very hard. And then the way you would sit, like leaning forward on a computer, is extremely painful for me. So I do a lot of reclining. So like the way a car seat, if you lean one back or at a farther back angle, is the most comfortable for me, which is how I sit most of the time. And then I can't stand for very long either. And it's not an issue of just needing to alternate from sit to stand. They're just both very exhausting for me. So once I've reached my limit, like that's just my limit, and I have to go to sleep or lay down for pretty extensive amounts of time. So some days I can have like a really good day and go out for a little while and do something. As long as we're really careful about like what the chairs are like, what the surface I have to walk on is like, what the lighting is like, so I don't get migraines, make sure things aren't going to be really smelly. But even then, like I'm just wiped out after that. One of my pain responses is migraines, nausea, and then a really funny one is my skin turns bright red. So yay, lucky me. So now that you understand what my limitations are for working, it's around the fact that I can't sit or stand. I get migraines. I get sick. And then because I take a lot of medicine, my memory is not very good and my brain doesn't function the way it used to. Chronic pain just changes your brain. So I forget everything and can't do the alphabet very well, and I'm late all the time. But anyway, just hyping myself up, I guess. So first things first, there's two types of disability. A lot of people think getting disability is pretty easy, or that people like work the system, and there are two types, and I do think that those stereotypes fall more into one category than the other. I'm not going to tell you how to work the system, but I have heard that doing SSI is easier than doing SSDI. So SSI is the one that I think gets manipulated more, but I wouldn't say it's easy to get either. SSDI is the one that I qualify for, and I can promise you that is not easy to manipulate. So the differences are SSI is based on your age and your disability, having limited income and having limited resources. SSDI is based on disability and work credits. So basically what that means is if you've never earned a lot of money or you've never worked and you have a disability or you're older, you can qualify for SSI. If you have worked a lot and become disabled, then you qualify for SSDI. I don't know if one is better than the other, but they are different. SSI, once you qualify for SSI, you automatically qualify for health coverage through Medicare. For SSDI, the one that I'm applying for, you have to wait 24 months after receiving, after you get your disability, after it's approved, before you can get health insurance through Medicare. SSI and SSDI, though, they pay differently. So the average payment for your claim of SSI is $577 a month. Some people make more, some people make less, but that's the average. The average payment for SSDI is $1,128. And I think the difference is because you paid into the system when you were working, so it pays out more. Another difference is with SSI, you don't really get to have investments and assets and stuff. If you do, you can lose your benefits. Whereas with SSDI, you can have assets. So if you owned your house, you're not going to lose your house. And you can do investments. So let's say you had a 401k from the years you did work. You won't lose that. They won't take all of that money from you. So those are basically the differences. SSI, SSDI. One is based on limited income. One is based on working. One, you automatically get insurance. SSDI, you have to wait for insurance. SSI, you don't get to have assets. SSDI, you do. All right, so how do you qualify for SSDI? That's what I'm going to focus on because I don't know anything about SSI. I know you have to make less than $1,300 a month. So basically your disability has limited your ability to work down to making less than $1,300 a month. The disability has to be expected to last more than 12 months. And you have to not be able to do the work that you did, but you also have to prove that you can't do other work. And basically that comes down to they want to prove there's not like 3 full-time jobs that you can't do. So if you could have been, a corporate executive like I was when you were disabled, when you became disabled. But if you can work full-time as, say, a cashier or the Walmart greeter or on an assembly line in a factory, you won't qualify for disability. So the way they prove this is you send in tons and tons and tons of medical documentation saying, for my situation, like I can't sit for a long amount of times, I can't stand for a long amount of times, I can't lift anything, I can't be anywhere where there's a lot of scents or particulates in the air, etc., etc. And that really knocks down what your full-time work, and it's not even full-time work, it's like your ability to make more than this $1,300 a month. Sorry to look at my notes, I can't remember all this, I wrote it all down. I started my process. So we'll talk a little bit about how the process works. I've was learning about disability and found out about how often people get denied. So basically like 50-something% of everyone who files for disability won't get it. So there's different levels. So for instance, I filed for disability in September of 2019. I had been told that getting an advocate or a lawyer would make my chance of getting approved much higher. So I did get an advocate. She comes very, highly recommended. She has been amazing. She knows what she's doing. She takes care of me. We've been working on this for 29 months now, and she's like a family member to me. So anyway, I filed in September of 2019 and was denied. 20 to 30% of people who do this initial filing will get approved. And the other 70 to 80% of people who file at this level will get denied. It's just how it is. You can Google it. I think it's on the website. So when you're denied, you file for an appeal reconsideration, I think is what it's called. And so of that 70 to 80% who's denied, that go to reconsideration, another like 13% gets approved. So I went through reconsideration. It's a non-medical review. Mine was denied in September of 2020. So a year later from when I initially filed, I was denied again. So then we filed, well, my advocate filed for the hearing level. So of the people who are left to make it to the hearing level, the statistics say that 47% of people who go to hearings are successful. So my hearing was scheduled for April of 2021. Now, I arrived at my hearing via telephone. Because of COVID, I did a phone hearing. And my hearing ended up being rescheduled because of the way some weird things fell into place, including all those stimulus checks showed up as income, even though they're not. And so we had to like prove that they were not actually earned income, that they were stimulus. So that compounded with some other issues. My hearing was postponed, and the judge stated that it would be postponed no earlier than August of 2021. Well, I think with COVID and other delays, that it didn't happen. It didn't happen in August. Not only did it not happen, it then got chosen to go to audit. So it went through this kind of side process to make sure it should still be in the system. They determined it should still be in the system, and my hearing was then scheduled for now February 1st of 2022. And so, like I said, of the people that go to hearing, like 47% get approved, but those numbers are really skewed between if you don't have a lawyer or a advocate, it's only like 30% get approved. But if you do have one, like 60% get approved. And I think that's because the advocates and the lawyers just know how to deal with all the paperwork and all the little bits and pieces that like my brain just wouldn't be able to do. So after I have my hearing, the judge will make a decision, and then a representative does a final review. And then about a month after that, I get a letter that says whether or not I get a decision. And pretty much I think you're done there. There's a couple more steps that they can do all the way up to like the federal level. But I did a Google search on that, and basically all the kind of next steps you can do only result in a new review of about 5% of those cases that are denied. So I couldn't tell if it impacted approvals. It just said it impacted them getting reviewed again. So the next question is probably going to be, so what do I pay for an advocate or a lawyer? So for SSDI, your payments start on the 6th month after you file. So I filed in September of 2021. So 6 months later, I mean, my payments would start February of 2020. So obviously I haven't been approved. So if I do get approved, or when I get approved, right, let's manifest that, I'll get back payment. So they'll pay me for those 2 years that they haven't been paying me while I've been in this process. Your advocate gets 25% of your back pay up to $6,000. So for me, I will have to pay an advocate $6,000 to do 29 months worth of work. And then my kids are also eligible for a percentage of my benefits. So whatever I'm approved for, they get 25% each to help cover their child care, things like that. They will also get back pay, and the advocate doesn't take that. I don't know if that's true with a lawyer, but it is true with an advocate. And I think that spouses can get some kind of payment too. I don't really know how that works. I need to figure that out, but I don't know how that works. So that's kind of the rundown of how the advocate filed everything for me. She talks with the judges. She talks with the representatives. Any and every communication I get, she gets. She walks me through everything. She files the appeals. She really and she calls and she checks on me all the time. She's a very valuable asset in this process. And so she does deserve the money that she gets paid. So yeah, that's the lowdown on SSI and SSDI. And it's interesting to go through the process. The state of Oregon does consider me 100% disabled. I went through that process so that I could get child care during the pandemic. And then I do have a handicap placard, and federally, they say I'm permanently disabled when it comes to like national parks and things like that. But when it comes to actually getting support and help through disability, almost 3 years into the process, recommendations from 6 doctors, thousands of pages of medical records, and you still only have like a 50% chance of getting approved. So yeah, I guess we'll talk about something new in the next video. I hope this was informative. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you later. See you on the next adventure.